Wow, Anthony Joshua is in a very tough place. New breaking information states that Anthony Joshua's team is now in conversations to possibly step aside to allow an undisputed fight with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. We're going to talk about that in this video. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Yo, what up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Real quick, I don't know how you found my video. Somehow, some way, you made it. Thank you. Please help others find the content. Throw a like on the video. Now, let's jump right into the content. Frank Warren, Tyson Fury's promoter, says there are new talks for Anthony Joshua to step aside to allow Undisputed, right? Says Frank Warren reveals, quote, conversations from Anthony Joshua and his team to allow Tyson Fury a chance to fight Alexander Usyk for undisputed gold. Link will be in the description. And Frank Warren has stated so much, this is what he prefers to happen. Frank Warren has revealed talks are underway between Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Alexander Usyk to allow a fight which would crown an undisputed heavyweight champion. Joshua relinquished his WBA, WBO, IBF world titles to Usyk back in September, Tottenham in the UK, as he was outboxed and outclassed by the cerebral Ukrainian. Within a fortnight, Joshua had triggered an immediate rematch clause in a bid to regain his titles, with promoter Eddie Hearn confirming, it says Eddie Hearn confirming to this website, Talk Sports, that the fight was likely to happen March or April. However, the 32-year-old admitted he would consider stepping aside. You guys see that on the screen. Oh my gosh. Stepping aside, right? He would consider stepping aside to allow Usyk to fight the WBC champion who just beat Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, for a 4-belt world champion. Very, very interesting stuff. We got to keep talking about this. So you guys can see the conundrum is already beginning. Right there, that sentence that I highlighted for you in green. However, the 32-year-old admitted he would consider stepping aside to allow Usyk to fight Tyson Fury, right? Given the lopsided nature of the defeat and the fact Joshua has considered making changes to his coaching staff, it is a move that would certainly make sense both logistically and financially. Although the Watford native conceded it was not in his nature as a fighter to simply move aside, his shrewd business acumen took charge. Fury, who knocked out Deontay Wilder October 9th, would likely enter the fight as a betting favorite given his superior size and weight advantage over Usyk. With a fight between the two Brits falling off for the summer, it could well be resurrected with the Fury win and Joshua himself bouncing back. Speaking at a press conference for Anthony Yard and Lyndon Arthur, a fight you can hear live on, well, you know, that's just a shameless plug, Warren admitted a dialogue had been opened. Quote, everyone wants to see Fury and Usyk, the Queensberry chief told IFL. That's what we want to see. AJ, I seen his interview last week, which was a little bit confusing. If you listen to what he's saying, he's basically saying, quote, if I get the right money, I'll step aside. This is coming from Frank Warren. Wow. So that's really where we've got to get as a team, the Tyson Fury team. We are all working hard to make that happen, and it just may happen. And if it does, then Tyson Fury will meet Usyk and the 4 belts will be on the line. And I hope that is going to be the case. If it doesn't for any reason, then we've got to move to a plan B, and plan B will be to fight here in the UK, maybe in March against an opponent that Tyson Fury feels comfortable with. And this is coming from Frank Warren. He added, quote, obviously there's conversations about Anthony Joshua stepping aside, but they will have a limit of time where suddenly it's either going to happen or it's not. I don't think everybody's going to be waiting around for that, but I'm quite positive and feel positive that there is between everybody a will to get it done. Now, this is hilarious and shocking, and I have multiple different feelings about this. So you guys see Anthony Joshua a day ago, Ring Magazine, he's quoted as saying this. Anthony Joshua says he's now motivated and fueled by anger 1 day ago, right? Usyk is open to fighting Tyson Fury if Joshua allows 2 days ago, right? Eddie Hearn confirms Joshua's step-aside conversation started to allow Fury versus Usyk next. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Joshua now motivated by anger. So you can't, if Joshua, listen, I feel vexed and I feel multiple ways for this. And I'm going to explain each and every one. That's why we unpack. Coming to you live. Make sure you guys throw a like on the video, and I'll explain why I feel conflicted about this. As a boxing fan, I think this is great news, right? Because it's a chance to see undisputed unification. So who wouldn't want that? An opportunity to see one name, like, you know, kind of what Deontay Wilder was saying when he was a champion, what he was going after. One face, one name, one champion, right? But this, as great as a thing this could be, this will be horrendous for Joshua. And I'll explain why. Joshua, to me, has been acting bizarre. And he's taken the Usyk loss very bad, almost worse than the Andy Ruiz fight. You know, because with the Andy Ruiz, there was almost an exception. Because it's like, that wasn't the guy you were initially supposed to be fighting anyway. And Andy Ruiz came on 5-week notice to Gerald Big Baby Miller, who failed VADA tests, yada, yada, yada. So you got upset by someone who really wasn't even supposed to be in the mix. Versus Usyk, this is a cruiserweight who was a betting underdog versus a much bigger Joshua. And if you look at how Joshua fought, because the reality is, Joshua is bigger in stature than Andy Ruiz, but in both fights, if I'm not mistaken, Andy Ruiz weighed more than Joshua, right? Because he's kind of like a big, you know, portly dude or whatnot, right? So he weighed more. Versus Usyk, he came in a solid 220-ish for the Joshua fight, and he fought toe-to-toe. He was in the front door. And he was moving, creating angles, and he backed up the bigger man. And he had Joshua fighting like Joshua was the smaller man. And that's a bad thing. So this is going to be disastrous for Joshua if he chooses to now back out. Because the world already knows that Joshua already triggered the rematch clause, you know. And I'm pretty sure I can. Anthony Joshua triggers rematch clause Usyk, right? We could probably pull that up just to pull. Boom. Anthony Joshua has triggered his rematch against Usyk, which will take place in the spring of 2022. So this was in October, days after the Wilder fight, October 10th, right? Sunday. So literally the day after the Wilder fight, Joshua triggered a rematch against Alexander Usyk, confirmed by his promoter. Now, this, if he is willing to take money, this is going to conflict with a lot of stuff that Joshua has recently said and a lot of his recent behavior. And it's going to really show the whole world that he's getting cold feet and he's really not as confident as he's been acting in, you know, some of his recent rants or posts or whatever you want to call it. So right here, this is the duplicity of Anthony Joshua. Joshua triggered the rematch in October. So if somehow you step aside, then we know that means you're going back on your word. And previously, Joshua says, as you guys can see, now motivated by fuel, and he's fueled by anger, ringtv.com, right? So 1 minute ago, you were posting videos of Tupac lyrics and, you know, these Tupac and Nipsey Hussle quotes and gangster quotes and gangster rap and yada, yada, yada. And you were fueled by and motivated by anger, right? You see Joshua changes his bio. This didn't always say that. But then after he lost, he changed it where it says throwback fighter. So now if you're a throwback fighter, you can't it's going to look bad if you bail out and don't want to fight Usyk, the guy who beat you. Another reason, in my opinion, this will look bad for Joshua is because he was insistent on fighting Andy Ruiz when he lost to Andy Ruiz. He was, for whatever reason, a lot of people didn't think he could do it, but he had belief and he pushed for the fight with Andy Ruiz, and they did it in Saudi Arabia. And he was adamant about getting that to there was a lot of people that were saying, hey man, take some tune-ups. This is not a good look. You shouldn't go straight into the Andy Ruiz fight. This is what people were telling Anthony Joshua. Like, hey, this is super dangerous. I remember, I think it was Carl Froch. I know Amir Khan is one of the I know Amir Khan is definitely one of the people that said it. So Amir Khan, among others, were saying, Joshua, hey, this is a dangerous rematch to go into the Andy Ruiz. But Joshua he was defiant, and he wasn't worried about what people were saying. So now if you say, hey, I'm stepping aside to allow Usyk and Tyson Fury to fight, then that means you're showing that you need more time and you're not confident you could beat Usyk, because there's no man in America or in the UK, around the world, that will believe that they're going to win a rematch and then want to step aside. This is why Deontay Wilder, in the end, he was knocked out, because he believed in his heart that he could beat Tyson Fury, regardless of the outcome. And he came close, to be honest, to be fair. Wilder came close. He definitely hurt him in all the fights, really. Oh, actually, in the second fight, he didn't really hurt Tyson Fury. But in the first and third, Wilder definitely hurt Tyson Fury. You know, that goes without saying. So for Joshua, he's doing these b-boy stances and stuff like that. It's going to be a bad look. So great for boxing, just because I'm all for undisputeds and unifications. But Joshua has done a lot of recent, like, tough talk and, you know, these innuendos and IG captions and Snapchat captions and stuff where he's like, man, I'm going to war, and, you know, the marathon continues, and he's saying this, that, and the third. So now Frank Warren is saying we've had conversations with his team for him to step aside. So that shows that he doesn't believe that he could beat Usyk if he does truly decide that. Because again, case in point will be a heavyweight Deontay Wilder. No matter what people said, Wilder said he believed somebody did something to his water, things of that sort. And no matter what, he was convinced that he could beat Tyson Fury if he had another crack. So for Joshua to just alleviate himself from the conversation, you know, that's a bad look. But I will say this. Old media, this goes to show, look, he with Nipsey Hussle. Last time that I checked, it was 5 chains on my neck. There was no smut on my rap. He right by the Nipsey Hussle mural right now. But listen, this proves everything that I've said in my videos, right? This proves everything I've said in my videos regarding the fake narratives of old media. For example, do you realize when Wilder lost the second fight to Tyson Fury, you had people who were begging and pleading for Deontay Wilder to move out the way and step aside because old media was saying Wilder no longer, despite having a contract that stipulated he, even if he lost, would get another crack at Tyson Fury because it was a 2-fight deal, right? Despite all of this stuff, old media told Wilder to get out the way. Like Ludacris said, move, get out the way. If I see you on the highway, get out of my way, right? They told Wilder to move, cut turf. We want undisputed. Undisputed is where it's at. They went as far as saying the fight was signed, which was capped because Wilder had to go and he had Tyson Fury in a mediation and arbitration process. So these are the lies that were told. They even had a location, Saudi Arabia. They said they were going to build a venue. They went as far as announcing the fighters' splits and purses for this alleged undisputed fight. They were making graphics and all types of flyers and stuff and saying, oh, Joshua Fury undisputed. Now that's all FUBAR. Now we're to a point where they're saying that Joshua may step aside because he needs more time. And look, this is what Joshua was putting after he lost to Usyk. Keep positive even if the world's crumbling in front of you. London, I love you. Thank you each and every time. So he's been putting these cryptic messages and stuff. So for Joshua's rep, if he doesn't see, this is why I'm not a fan, and everything I'm saying, I've been very consistent. This is why I'm not a fan of rash decision making immediately after a loss. If you have, I don't know what the terms are, it depends on the contract, but if you have 30 to 90 days to trigger a rematch clause, this is exactly why you don't go straight into the rematch clause, right? Like you had the fight in late September, so probably around September 25th, and then a week later, you trigger the rematch clause just like you did when you lost to Andy Ruiz. But the problem is maybe you haven't fully thought about it. Maybe you decided, hey, Rob McCracken needs help. You know, I need another trainer or whatever. You came to America on vacation, looked at some different options for training, etc. Now you're going to have to be an Indian giver and renege on the rematch clause. So it's quite surprising to hear that Joshua's team is even considering step-aside money. But again, as I mentioned earlier, it is hilarious because old media was okay with Joshua fighting Usyk until he says his team is now saying that he may step aside to allow undisputed. And there was not this same level of pressure that they wanted Wilder to just succumb and give up the rights to his 2-fight deal to get out the way of undisputed. Now the world of boxing, old media's world, they go along with anything Eddie Hearn and Joshua are saying. If Joshua now wants to renege and take back the rematch and he needs more time, now they're going to go along with it and say, yeah, Joshua should step aside. But there hasn't been much pressure prior to this announcement from Frank Warren saying that that's what they want for Joshua to step aside. And again, this is why Joshua is going to look bad. Good for boxing, but Joshua will look bad because to me, this shows that you're not ready or your team doesn't believe you're ready because you fought Andy Ruiz and lost and you wanted an immediate rematch. So now if you want to see Usyk versus Tyson Fury, then maybe you feel that Usyk's style is too crafty, he's too small, and he's too elusive. So maybe you'd rather fight Tyson Fury because to keep it a buck, Tyson Fury, even though he won the Wilder 2 and 3 fights, he got banged up in those and he's very inconsistent discipline wise. So styles make fights. Tyson Fury, he's the type of fighter where he has to feel challenged and you know, if he climbs to the top of the mountain, you don't know what he's going to do next. He might fall off like he did after the Klitschko fight. So him knocking out Wilder, he might be like, oh, that's it, and then gain weight or not be training hard because he thinks Joshua's sweet. So stylistically, Tyson Fury and Joshua, maybe that's a different fight. Some guys just have your number. Usyk is it's just a different style. Fury's crafty, but I would trust Usyk's discipline over Fury's discipline. I would trust Usyk to be, to stay clean on drug tests and things like that before Fury. So you never know what you're going to get with Tyson Fury. So now it's looking like Tyson Fury and Usyk could end up happening for Undisputed, because it looks like Joshua and his team are now getting cold feet. And it's just ironic and funny to see, because Eddie Hearn's he don't like to lose. Eddie Hearn's not even a fighter, but you could tell he doesn't like to lose. So he treats the fighter really kind of like toys. And if he breaks his toy, he's like, oh, let's go again. Like Kell Brook. You look at Kell Brook, you put him in with Triple G, and then you put him in with a super dangerous Errol Spence, who he should have been fighting to begin with. He should have never fought Triple G. And then when Kell Brook was all banged up, Eddie Hearn just went to Anthony Joshua and just started heavily promoting Anthony Joshua. And Kell Brook was really an afterthought at that point, So Joshua is really the last big star that Eddie Hearn really has. There's been a lot of years and marketing put into. Caleb Smith already lost real bad to Canelo. Billy Joe Saunders already lost, and he said he's retired now. Conor Benn, he's good, but he's not really fighting anybody of note. And the best welterweight fights are 95% with PBC, which you can attain. And then the other fights would be Crawford or Virgil Ortiz, which you might not be able to have access to, or Josh Taylor if he moves up, which you might not be able to have access to, because some of them are with Golden Boy, Top Rank, Crawford, free agent. So they're probably thinking about it like, man, we can't afford to let Joshua in there with Usyk, so we might need more time. And this is just going to contradict the mentality. Joshua says, oh, I'm a warrior. Yeah, I'm a warrior. Yeah, meet with me. I believe, like, go again. And he's saying all this tough talk about like how he's gonna go at it, and this is what'll be, to me, it'll be a shocking move if Joshua pulls out of, he's really pulling out of a fight. We unpack, he's really pulling out of a fight, because I just showed you he triggered the rematch clause. Again, if you have time to make a rematch, give it some consideration and real thought, because now it looks like you're getting cold feet and the world will know you're backing up, which to me is kudos to Usyk being a great fighter. And now you just rather watch somebody else try to knock Usyk off and then try to fight the winner and then give yourself more time. Very pivotal decision making from Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua. I really can't wait. This doesn't mean he is pulling out, but let's be honest, the Usyk fight, the way Joshua looked, he's going to have to make mad changes. And now he might even change people on his team. And you never know how your style will gel with somebody, right? Dominic Breazeale got with Virgil Hunter and fought Wilder and got knocked out their first fight together. You see what I'm saying? So switching to new trainers, it's not always, you don't know. I mean, even Wilder went to Malik Scott, and I'm not blaming Malik Scott, but he went to a new trainer. And they only had one fight, which happened to be the big fight, the Tyson Fury fight, together. And he ended up getting knocked out in the Fury fight. So it's really hard to switch trainers. I don't know if Joshua's switching trainers or not, but it looks like he's definitely shopping the idea. But all I know is Joshua is in a very precarious position, because he's posted a lot and he's rapping Tupac lyrics and putting these captions like, oh, I'm unbothered. And he's like, why is everyone picking on me? Just little me. Why me? And now they're talking about maybe taking step-aside money. So this whole situation is just hilarious. And it's also hilarious because these are most of the same people that told you Joshua Fury was going to happen. And now it's all scrambled up. And I also blame Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua exclusively, because realistically, years ago, they could have fought Wilder when Wilder and AJ both were undefeated. We could have had Undisputed. They could have fought 3 fights by now, and the heavyweight division wouldn't be all scrambled. But because they chose to play games, lowball Wilder, try to over A-side him and, offer him flat fees and try to force him on DAZN, it all got messed up. Now we're to a point where they're talking about Tyson Fury, he might fight against Usyk, and Joshua might take step-aside money. And again, back to comparing it to Deontay Wilder. You got to give a lot of props to Deontay Wilder because Tyson Fury is a good fighter who was capable of beating him because he just beat him. And Wilder wanted his get back opportunity. Came up short, but he wanted that. So that shows you Wilder got a heart the size of Alabama. No win, lose, or draw. No retreat, no surrender. He wanted Tyson Fury. He wanted the world stage. He wanted the pay-per-view to try to prove he was better. Came up short. No shame in that. If Joshua backs out, that's going to say more about his character. And I think Joshua's a good fighter, but it's going to show that there's inadequacies or insecurities, or Joshua doesn't believe he's the finished product and some of the stuff he's saying if he doesn't fight Usyk. Keep in mind, Usyk is not even a big dude. He's not even a big dude. So if you renege on the triggered rematch and now you're okay with stepping aside, I don't know. I think that hurts Joshua's rep a bit, you know? And again, this could have been avoided if Joshua didn't request an immediate rematch and authorize and trigger the rematch to possibly take it back. So at the end of the day, nothing is done. He might still fight Usyk. We will find that out shortly. But we could have another great fight on the horizon. Let me know if Usyk has any chance to beat Usyk, if he has any chance to beat Tyson Fury. Let me know how I did in this unpack. Subscribe to the channel if you like the video. But very precarious situation for Joshua. And I'm out. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.